It's that fantastic moment of the year where I'm gonna talk about movies that I absolutely hated this year. Oh man, now I gotta admit that sometimes I do really enjoy talking more about the worst of the year. Sometimes because there's kind of like a sadistic nature on people that you want to shred something badly made to pieces. There's kind of like a charm out of it. But yeah, 2019, it wasn't too hard for me to pick out my worst of the year, especially considering that I have a kind of like a streak on this December. But lo and behold, I had to organize it and try to analyze which movie pissed me off the most, or which movie bored me to tears. And like always, I got it here too. But again, side note saying that I don't include Netflix movies. I already explained it, on my best and all this stuff. But I do have to tell you for other people that while organizing my list, I am sorry that I couldn't put, some obvious that I did wanted to put it on the list, but they couldn't fit. For example, I wanted to put Dumbo or Hellboy or Ugly Dolls, or even one that I didn't review, which is 47 Meter Down Uncaged. And also, I'm sorry if I didn't put also Terminator Dark Fate. I know that Terminator Dark Fate is topping a lot of worst of the year, but since this is kind of like my list, I had other priorities that I can consider them worst of the year. Yeah, I know, Car. So I apologize. So, which are the worst? Which are the movies that bore me to tear or I hated them? Like the last time. Let's go with 3 more dishonorable mentions. Which are the movies that couldn't make it to my list, but I still hated them, or at least gave them some kind of guilty pleasure hate sometimes. My number 1 probably is one of the stupidest movies that I wish it could have been on the worst of my list, but I found other movies worse than that. And that one is none other than Countdown. What a stupid premise. I just remember coming out of this movie theater just thinking, that was the stupidest movie I have seen this year. And this is the movie that they wanted to, put it on highlight for Halloween. I mean, making a movie about a killer app that will kill you because you have a time limit or something like that. That was stupid, I'll say. I really just the movie doesn't follow its own rules, and that's what I kind of remember out of it is basically forgettable, except for this snarky what was it? The app guy, the snarky shop owner. That was probably the only best part of the movie of how snarky he was. But still, this movie kind of even dumps down, how apps work, how you don't buy the relationship of any of the characters. And again, the kills are all PG-13, and it turns such a bore fest that you're gonna come out really disliking this movie on how stupid it is. And it also has a really stupid ending that doesn't make sense. It breaks its rules, and it doesn't. And also, good luck on trying to bait us with a sequel, because honestly, I hope it doesn't happen. Or in a way, I hope it happens, because I sometimes I'm really curious to know where this piece of shit is gonna go next. Next time on App. countdown is gonna the countdown app is gonna be updated, so you can put it to another person. You can see another person's countdown. That's an idea. My next one, worst of the year. I put Captive State. Talk about a movie that had an idea and doesn't follow it. Imagine, aliens come, invade Earth, they take over, and what do we follow? Our rebels and spies, and aliens barely appears. They barely see the aliens. It's kind of like the aliens barely matter. How is that possible? It's kind of like what will happen if you're a journalist and somehow you see a building exploding, fires underway, people are screaming, they're dying, there's a lot of interesting happen, but you decide to make a story about the latest breakfast lunch that you have ever made. How's that possible? This is so boring that not even John Goodman, who was the only decent actor in this movie, capable to save this. Things are on the move, but it leads to nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I blame myself because the trailer kind of feels like there was some kind of mystery there, kind of like they did with that's Cloverfield sequel, the one that also had John Goodman. The name escapes me, but anyway, unlike that, that Cloverfield movie was great, but this one, it comes with nothing. Even the special effects are barely there. And the aliens, the least we get from aliens, they don't look, you know, interesting. They're like human sea urchins. And so, for Captive State, I felt like I was a captive in this movie. So, this is why I put it number 2 of the dishonorable list. It could have been higher, but again, I've seen worst. But speaking of, my third dishonorable mention of worst of the year, this is apparently, usually I put under this honorable mention a movie that is really, really bad, but this is one that I highly recommend you to watch it. That movie is Serenity. Oh man, Serenity. At the start of the year, this movie, people begin to tell me, dude, this movie, what the frick I just watched? I've been hearing stories about it, and I said, you know what? I'm in, and not technically my type of genre, and I come up with probably the most ludicrous experience I have seen. Matthew McConaughey, being a fisherman, having seen his ex-wife who tells him that she's gonna give him money so he can kill her husband. And from this, the movie jumps into ludicrous levels because not only is the plot is about a murder that probably is gonna happen, but it jumps down, his, this kid playing the game, and then it feels like reality begins to bend in each other, and for some reason the movie kind of makes me feel like I am having kind of like a fresh take to this novel that is called Chronicles of an Announced Death. It's weird. And the whole movie is the debate of whether he gonna kill the guy or not, because he must kill him in order to save his son. because the guy is abusive. He's technically like a Miami Vice villain. But man, that I was like, what the frick is going on? Even at the end of the movie, which at least gives you some answer, you're technically mesmerized with the whole insanity that this movie gives out. And you know what? I kind of love it. I kind of love movies that kind of give me some kind of crazy surprise. And yes, it's bad because the execution is corny. The acting is a little bit corny. Some effects are corny. It's just crazy corniness. But trust me, guys, that once you see this movie, you're gonna think that you did manage to catch that fish. A real crazy fish. Well, let's start out. The movies that I hated. My number 10 worst movie of the year. I kind of hesitated to do that, but it does deserve to be there. And this is gonna be the most controversial that I'm gonna put on the list. But I had no choice. And I'm proud to say that my number 10 worst movie of the year is Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. Before you go with your pitchforks, let me explain. The movie does deserve to be on the worst because this is kind of proof of how low the Star Wars franchise has gotten into. And I'm not just talking about the producers of the film, but also the community. I know that they have problems with The Last Jedi and Solo, but this movie could have saved the franchise, but it didn't. It divided the fan base even more, so much that I absolutely dislike a lot of the things that happen. So the consequences of this movie, I think that this is why at least it deserves a spot on being the worst movie of the year. Not just because of the movie itself, but the consequences that it brought. So, but let's put it at least in, cinematographic, opinions. I also didn't like much about the movie. There were some neat ideas there, but it feels like the movie that has a grudge against another movie. It feels that uses nostalgia as a bait, which basically people do. This is the trap of the nostalgia. Bringing Emperor Palpatine again is a mistake. The twist behind Rey was interesting, but they couldn't do it enough. The arc of Kylo Ren also was interesting, but I could give you a debate about, why this is a character that doesn't feel that needs to be redeemed. And again, I absolutely hated the last minutes of the movie because it feels so self-indulgent. It feels unrewarding, and it doesn't deserve it. It doesn't deserve the ending that it got. And you know what? You could debate anything you want. I could debate. People I've seen debating, defending the movie or people hating the movie. And let me reiterate saying that I'm not the kind of guy who wants to hate Star Wars. I'm not the. People always begin to accuse saying that oh, you love hating Star Wars. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I want to defend it, but when there's bad storytelling, you have to tell it. You're being, if someone gives you a bad hamburger, will you eat it? And I mean a hamburger that is moldy, not the one that you brush it up. You have to tell them, or else they won't get better. I'm not gonna continue anymore talking about it because defending this, either whether you're defending the franchise or hating the franchise, this could be done as an essay. There's an essay long list of problems and pros and cons that you could give it to this movie. It's basically kind of like a political debate. But because of that consequence, this is why at least it's my number 10 worst of the year. So at least for all you defenders of Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, be grateful that it's number 10. Okay, can we continue on? Fine. Because number 9, man. My number 9 is Playmobil the movie. Oh my god. I can't get mad of this movie because the movie only cost me $5 in the movie theaters. $5. And this is what you get when you don't take your animated movies seriously. You come off with a really, really poor man Lego movie. And man, this will make us feel grateful for the directions of the Lego movie. This movie is full of traps that make you say that, hey, children's gonna like this. We don't care, building kind of like a story or something like that. Let's just jump around, make songs, and they're gonna get distracted. You know what? That kind of reminds me that I haven't watched the Dora the Explorer movie. I skipped that movie like the plague, and I don't care if people say that, hey, it's not what you think. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. At least I had my taste with this Playmobil movie, which in a way, I still kind of recommend you to watch it at least once to see the insanity out of it. Because I only told you that my review that the only positive things I could tell about this movie is that the villain is ludicrously hilarious in how ridiculous he is. Even though all these songs suck ass, the villain song is probably the most passable. And also I like Daniel Radcliffe's character as Rex Dasher. Because that was kind of like the most entertaining part of the movie. But everything else, you're gonna go with a messy story, a messy character development, a main character that you hate, a child that you hate. Oh, I did forget to mention that the kid that is in the movie, he is the kid from the remake of Child's Play. I never noticed that. But yeah. It was enough for me to put it, low on the list. As it's so bad that you should at least know what not to do in a movie that is about a toy. In this case, Playmobil. Speaking of so bad, is kind of hilarious. Number 8. This one should have been on the top. Many people put it on the top, even on the number 1 top. But I can't deny that Cats is also one of the most what the fuck movies that you could ever see. Oh man, I wish I could put it higher. I mean, the movie is unequally, it's no doubt really bad. It's so bad it's ugly. You see these horrible CGI effects, horrible cat suits, horrible mocap. It's uncanny valley ugly. This is an ugly film to watch. But the only reason I kind of suggest you to watch is because it's an experience that it will give you nightmares. So consider this kind of like your own nightmare fuel. The Cats movie wasn't. The Cats Broadway play, it wasn't exactly my cup of tea when I just saw it. Although I just thought that some of the songs were okay. But in this case, forcing a story in a play that basically has no story, it feels kind of cheap. And yeah, again, the cats look ugly, the proportions are ugly, the story is non-existent, the music compared to the Broadway is really, really bad. The less we talk about this fat chick with Rebel Wilson, the better. There is this ludicrous scene, you know, with the children mice that is disturbing, and you know, the cockroaches. Oh man! But if you you're into movies, this is again a must-watch at least once to have probably the weirdest experience you could ever imagine for this movie. And because of that weird experience, this is why I didn't get my heart to put it really, really high. If you have your own top 10 worst movies of the year and you put Number Cats at number 1, I will completely understand it. I will completely understand it. It is a what the freak movie that is gonna blow your mind. And but there's one thing that this movie gave me at least is to try out my challenge to defend furries. That's the least I could say. My number 7 is The Lion King. Yep. With Disney, you're running out of ideas. You're being on a long string of remaking beloved animated films, and it clearly shows that you're not stopping. And we blame ourselves, and even I blame everyone. I even blame children, because as long as people think that just because it comes from animation and just because it is Disney, it makes it automatically good. No. The Lion King is the perfect proof of when everything from Disney should not be tolerated. Basically, this movie shows where animation can go wrong. When you try to imitate reality, it's technically an experiment that it's been seen now, but now it should be stopped. I couldn't hate this movie too much, unlike another one that comes into my mind, because it's indeed the Lion King story, exactly, except for a few extra scenes. I've seen common people loving it just because, hey, it's the Lion King, I love the story, I love the original, so this one is okay. At this point, we need theater appreciation obligatory in our schools, because we can't have that. All right. Considering that, I'm gonna keep off, talking about the movie. Is that the colors are dull. The CGI is dull. Some of the songs are too repetitive. Again, the script is carbon copy with a little bit of female power that they want to show how Nala, escaped from the Pride Lands, and they gave Shensi a little bit too much of power. Although in hindsight, I could technically forgive a little bit of that, even though it feels totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary, but that was basically kind of like an ugly film. I mean, although to be fair, it's not as ugly as Cats, but it's so soulless and motionless. I mean, they missed the point of what makes cartoons, cartoons, and why the art of traditional animation or good cartoon CGI are capable of. But this one, they feel like they wanted to imitate reality, when reality is boring. Why do we watch it? This is the reason why cartoons exist. So this, I hope that for many cinematographers, kind of see that this is the folly of all these Disney live-action reboots. But unfortunately, since Disney is the monster that we just created, it's gonna keep going and going and going. Are we done yet? And speaking of soulless, my number 6 is Dark Phoenix. If it is not Disney, it has to do 20th Century Fox. Because now 20th Century Fox has sold its soul to Disney. And probably this is one of the lesser evils that there is. Because, man, that Dark Phoenix was the final nail in the coffin to the franchise of the X-Men. I mean, I never saw X-Men: The Last Stand, but I know that it's about the Phoenix arc from the X-Men franchise. And now they rebooted and they decided to open Pandora's box and do the movie about the Phoenix arc again. To fail again! How did it happen? Because the whole movie is boring as hell. Boring. And if it's not boring, it has bad character writing, bad decisions, and you can tell that everybody in the movie, they want no part of it. No part of it. Everyone is sleepwalking in this film. Even Jennifer Lawrence, in which she had enough. And in a way, I was actually kind of also crying enough because I was sick that the second reboot of X-Men, they glorify Mystique when she's not exactly a big deal. I mean, the new actors of that Magneto and Professor X, they did really a good job. I just kind of wish that they could have stopped since Apocalypse. I mean, Apocalypse wasn't exactly a good movie, but at least I could tolerate it. This one, I never seen a very, very dead film ever since Fantastic Four. Man, I was so bored to tears. So I can't say enough. This movie is so forgettable that I even forget what it is. All the follies that this movie has. You know what? That's all I have to say. Probably we might gonna see a third time in the future because the X-Men is basically like the Phoenix. It's gonna come out of the ashes, but at this point, maybe waiting for a third revival will be a blessing in disguise, or will be the biggest catastrophe there is. That's basically the biggest risk when you revive something. Number 5. This one I can say that it's the worst animated movie of this year. It is a movie that it shows that you need some kind of direction to go with it. I'm talking about Wonder Park. Wonder Park is an enigma of how did it manage to be done without any director. There's no direction. It comes from a very hellish production, even probably more baffling than the food fight movie. In food fight, everything went wrong, due to mishaps. But Wonder Park, This one they have much more faith with, I think, some talented people. But how did it happen? This is what you get when you, again, don't trust your children. You only think children as materials to buy your products. You think as children as easily manipulated. And you decide to take that advantage of that. Again, you treat children like you see bright, glittery things. And they're gonna, you know, call their attention because it's so cute, so safe and everything. I hate to say, again, this analogy that I say that many times, is that children are like insects. Most of the insects, they get attracted to bright lights because it's pretty. But when you have a bright light that is kind of like a bug zapper, they get attracted to it and they die. So Wonder Park has a lot of things wrong. First of all, we got a main character who is a little bit too perfect, a little bit too Mary Sue, and we don't buy, you know, her arc. I think that she's even worse than Ray. And her reason for grief is pointless, especially with the direction that the movie goes. Second of all, for a movie that calls itself that is about promoting imagination, it doesn't promote, you know, imagination. It technically feels like a safe imagination where you don't want, you know, to push things. Even the character design doesn't look, you know, too great, I'll say. And the rides, man, it has. The movie also has, you know, awful parenting. It doesn't take risks, you know, on the dark levels of, you know, in this case, you know, having, you know, a parent having cancer or something like that. It's like Inside Out going wrong. It has a bad moral saying that you have to, you know, be happy and imaginative all the time, and that feeling sad and grief is bad. And it doesn't. The events that happen during the movie is all on autopilot. So yeah, you can tell that the animation is not exactly great. So much that this movie has lost a lot of money, and they put a lot of faith on this one. So much that they plan to make it a television series. And why do I get the feeling that the new Nickelodeon park attractions, they were supposed to be Wonder Park, or what the movie just called it, Wonderland. So there, this movie didn't even know what to do. So much that this movie was so baffling, so much that when I was reviewing this film, I had to cut it in 2 parts. And I'm not gonna do that right now. If you're curious enough, just watch it and you'll see why Wonder Park is not wonderful. Alright then guys, let's continue on with the list, because my number 5 is The Prodigy. The Prodigy is the perfect reason to, at least for me, the perfect reason why I really hate the scary children trope horror movies. Because no matter where it goes, the horror children genre always seems that they always gonna side with the children. Always the adults are gonna fall like saying that, no, it's my child, I love my child. They are never ever afraid to kill off, even when the child shows that it's not worth it. It's always shown that he's evil. And always people are always falling into, you know, the innocence of children. It doesn't help that this movie somehow makes reincarnation series absolutely wrong and baffling. Man, that it's technically a bore of a movie that I was just like wondering, oh man, make it stop. And unfortunately, this trend is gonna continue on, in which the more people defend children by saying that they're innocent and everything, they're gonna keep on making movies in which they make stupid decisions. I know that there's one that is coming almost by the end of the year, and I bet that this one is gonna be or not as good or worse than The Prodigy. And man, that I cannot stress enough how much I hated this movie, especially when they gave us again this ending that it really shows that it tries so hard to be like The Omen, but I also blame The Omen. The Omen kind of also technically brought up that trope, even though of course The Omen was fresh during the time being, and man, that they always keep on this taboo that children should not be harmed. It's a social taboo that always exists, even on movies. As a person that likes to push things, I think it is kind of like a time to stop. And I know children can be naive or something like that, but if you're gonna bring out, reincarnation also, don't write, very, very stupid characters, I'll say. That was probably the dumbest horror movie I have seen. And I know that there were worse this year. Like, for example, what was it? The murder of, this girl from the Manson family that I don't remember exactly the name. But I haven't seen that movie. So in the meantime, I will say that The Prodigy is now that I see, it's one of the worst that I have seen this year. Mostly because it made me realize how much I hate the scary children genre. Continuing on is number 3, which, speaking of boredom, we finally found probably the most boring movie that is much more emotionless than the actor participating in it. And I'm talking about Replicas. Many people accuse Keanu Reeves of being a very unemotional, actor. But considering, I have a soft spot for Keanu Reeves because you can put him in the roles that he can be good for, and he will work on it. I don't want to disrespect the man, but someone finally decided to make a movie that is hollow, and much more hollow than the man itself. I mean, they wanted to take on cloning, and and it's technically kind of like a fantasy level of cloning. Let's say the tendency that it goes feels ridiculous, and it's so slow paced that it's just kind of like a chore to watch. It broke kind of like many rules making us question: do we have to root for this character? Because in which he basically playing God, and it's so sad that he kind of drags out this other poor dude to be his accomplice, just for to revive his his family, but because of some tendencies, he can revive the little precious girl. Oh man, and the first quarter of the movie feels that it wanted to go something. Then apparently they changed directions, in which then it turns a little bit like AI, and then somehow it then turns into a conspiracy action movie in the final minutes of the movie. And I was like, what the hell are you doing, movie? It's a movie that apparently wanted to create a theme of cloning, but it feels out of place. It's a total mess of a movie and a total bore fest. This is, man. So this is, I can't believe that this was a January movie, and it's astounding how much it still holds up as being the worst movie of this year. Well, one of them, because I have two more. So for my number 2 pick of the worst movie of the year, I think that the worst crime you can give out for a movie is not exactly boredom, but the worst thing is when you become preachy without a fundamental basis. And that's why I give the Black Christmas 2019 the second place for worst movie of the year. I know if this movie feels that it's self-aware or technically on the nose, saying that yeah, this movie particularly makes fun of the chauvinism and the rape culture that we live on. This one is something that should have been handled with a little bit more care and with a fundamental basis. But unfortunately, it didn't, and it comes off as being as a run-of-the-mill man-hating film, in which it is not a help out when it's also combined with terrible acting, a terrible script, preachy dialogue, it convinces itself that it's a scary movie, but it isn't. The kills are awful, and it makes the worst crime for any horror movie in which, in the middle of a reveal, it cuts because it wanted to keep out its PG-13, and you should never ever do that. Not even for a DVD cut. And what worst of it all is that it stains the legacy of the other movie, the original, the 1974 one. Because I rewatched the original, and it still holds up. And there is some social commentary that it's not exactly preachy on the old movie, but this one, all the things are thrown in your face, and not in a good manner. And I know that there's a reviewer called the Horror Guru, and probably Count Jekyll at that. They defend this movie. I just want to know, well, how can you defend it? Why? Well, that's a little bit of a nitpick that I have, but yeah. This movie can make social justice warriors proud, and considering how if we continue, making these kind of movies, that it's a little bit too preachy. This kind of takes out the charm or the message that this movie has. Because I'm not against social commentaries. I'm not exactly, political agendas in movies. Because art is basically a form of expression to reciprocate your frustrations that could even crosses the boundaries of social life and political life. But sometimes you have to be a little bit clever, because not the audience that you think that you're gonna get is not always the audience that you're gonna get. And there's, for example, one of the best woke movies I have seen is actually Zootopia, but it doesn't feel woke because it's still timeless, and it doesn't go in your face. This is why sometimes instead of going with metaphors, a clever director usually go for the metaphor. Although metaphors can also be a little bit too much in your nose, and it could be easily offended. You need a little bit more care if you want to tackle something like that, or else it's gonna backfire. It's gonna bite your hand. So because it's an insult to the legacy of the original movie, and because it shows the ineptitude of how to handle a feminist agenda that pretty much shows that, pretty much kind of tells in your face that man sucks, man deserves to die, every man is awful, or like the movie kind of says it in one quote, they're not monster, they're man. I can't forgive this movie. I'm sorry. I wish I could not take it serious. I didn't want to take this movie seriously, but considering the day and age that we are, I cannot help to see none other than just a movie. Even though I know that people will say, "Oh, you're just making big deal out of just a movie." When movies, intentionally or not, they always mean something, for at least for the author and for the people it projects. But all these, at least in Black Christmas, I just came out, kind of wondering. I wasn't exactly too pissed, I'll say, because it kind of did what it wanted to, of course. But my number one pick, I had to think about which movie made me so angry, so miserable, and the worst thing, I feel alone with this movie, because many people will put Terminator Dark Fate or Charlie's Angels, which I've never seen, or the murder of Sharon Tatum, or Tate, that one, or many movies that you might think of. But for me, the worst experience I have in this movie theater in this year is fucking Aladdin. Shit, holy shit. This is the worst movie of this year. I can see people trying to defend it, but no, guys. I hated this movie, especially because Aladdin, it encompasses the horror of Disney. Disney keeps rebooting all these wonderful movies from every artist from the 90s, from the 80s, that at this point shouldn't be touched. They're doing fine in their way. But you decided to touch one of my favorites from the 90s, Aladdin, and make this mockery that not even Bollywood should deserve a praise for that. I hated the characters. I hated the direction that it goes. I don't care how creative you wanted to deviate from the source material. It's still an untouchable story that you shouldn't have touched. And I'm afraid, and I don't care how many Will Smiths you're gonna put there. As much as I call Will Smith a charming person, not even his charm was there. Lame jokes, horrible acting, horrible singing, horrible CGI, and I hate it. But most of all, I hated the reaction of the audience. People keep buying this bullshit. They keep praising Disney. They keep forgiving it. Why? You're not forgiving Lion King. You're not forgiving Dumbo. But you are forgiving Aladdin. I saw this monstrosity of what Disney is doing far earlier than any of the other reviewers in the world. I've seen this horseshit practice ever since The Beauty and the Beast. This is why I even boycott Disney Plus, and you people still decide to go along with it because you freaking sheep You're gone with it. And I know, I should be blaming myself because I saw the movie. I gave it money out of it. Yeah, I understand. But at least when I see a movie and I see that it's really bad and I see the monstrosity out of it, I had to do it. It's kind of like a necessary evil too, because because if you want to complain about the movie, you're gonna at least need a foundation. You can watch my video, of course, of all the things that I hated about this film. How I was so pissed. And even I had one of the worst audience ever. And I repeat you again, that movie was so boring and so horrible that a child next to me didn't even care about what's on screen. She was there, she even brought a freaking iPad to watch Incredibles 2 in the movie theater. I've been talking a little bit less about this movie that I just want to scream at it. Like I said, horrible acting, horrible thing, and it pisses me off the most also that just like every live action movie, it kind of feel like it wanted to obligate it to create a political agenda. If you thought Black Christmas was so bad, imagine on something more accessible to younger audiences like Disney. They brought a new pointless song that is also pretty bad, a really bad characterization, and you know, in the end, it's again proof that what's not broken, don't fix it. I can understand people saying that, oh, it's not as bad as, what other put I put on the list? It's not as bad as The Lion King. It's not as bad as Dark Phoenix. It's not as bad as Wonder Park. You may come up with all these excuses. I know, probably you're right. They are right. But at least on my book, because it made me realize how disgusting this practice of Disney, how disgusting how people just keep buying it just because it's for children. It's entertaining. It's charming. It makes me remember Aladdin, the last cartoon. Guys, watch the original. Or if you want to make a live action Aladdin movie, at least don't copy the one that was done before. Make your own Aladdin story. Don't rely on the old one. And with that said, this is why Aladdin is my #1 worst movie of 2019. And I bet that probably another Disney movie is gonna top the next year. Well, finally, those were my worst movies of 2019. We're getting near having the new year of 2020. Yep, 2020. And we hope that the next year we're gonna get as many good movies as bad movies, because either in the good and the bad, it's always a blast, you know, either praising it or hating it. It comes with the territory. And considering that January is coming, which is that dumping ground of bad movies, I'm eager for it, because man, that still every bad movie on January, it feels like an event. So with that said, I'm gonna say Happy New Year, everyone, and we toast for 2020.